us on to our next topic. Let's go up here. Poorly redacted Sony doc reveals Last of Us and Horizon sequels cost $200 million plus. The scale. Modern game budgets accidentally laid bare by court documents. This is from VGC News, hosted by Andy Robinson. So, poorly redacted document published as part of Microsoft versus FTC court battle have laid bare the scale of PlayStation's budget for its modern blockbusters. One document published on Wednesday discusses the huge sum required to develop major first-party games at Sony Interactive Entertainment, redacting key figures such as team size, budgets, and development time. However, as discovered by journalist Tom Warren, the redacted information appears to be done so with a pen and then scanned in by lawyers, meaning the numbers were still clearly visible shortly after the documents and docs were pulled. Let's see, Tom Warren's got it here. As you can see, this is like, it's always funny when you have, a billion-dollar publisher, billions of dollars. You can see the millions and millions of dollars on these projects, and their lawyers are using Sharpies to redact this secret information, because you could clearly see that this first-party release lasts a total of 5 years, starting 2017, ending in 2020. The game costs, and that it's Sharpied out, but it looks like it's $2,013,000. They actually have the whole. They actually kind of went in and discovered what it is. The reveal document is Horizon Forbidden West cost some $212 million to make. It was worked on by around 300 employees for 5 years. Last of Us Part 2 cost some $220 million to make. Was worked on by around 200 people over 5 years. So that's insane budgets, a huge period of time. It was already known modern AAA games cost over $200 million to create, but this is the first time the scale of the SIE's budget has been revealed, and it's likely these figures do not include non-development costs such as marketing, which is insane if it doesn't. I mean, speaking in 2020, PlayStation's boss, Sean Layden, who oversaw the development of Last of Us Part 2, discussed what he viewed to be the unsustainable cost of creating modern blockbusters. Layden referred to a common theory that development costs has doubled within every new console generation, and claimed the last-gen games had reached between $80 million and $150 million for most AAA games. The problem with the model is that it's just not sustainable, he said. I don't think that in the next generation you can take those numbers and multiply them by 2 and think that you can grow. He added, I think the industry as a whole needs to sit back and go, all right, what are we building? What's the audience expectation? What's the best way to get our story across and say what we need to say? The former PlayStation executive who left Sony in 2019 after a 3-decade career suggests that shorter games could help control development costs on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So he ends this with a quote. There has been a sort of growing movement of the I want a shorter game with worse graphics crowd. The sort of a battle cry against a lot of these, bloated AAA games that last long and have a lot of filler missions. Like, just give us something that's, shorter, sweeter, and doesn't necessarily cost a ton of money. But if we look at this article, $212 million, $220 million, absolutely insane numbers for these AAA games. And this is Sony. You got to assume that, things like Blizzard, like Diablo 4, has a budget around the same, maybe not as much, maybe worse. Who knows? It's really hard to say. Obviously, Diablo 4 had a lot of development issues too, so that could have increased the cost very easily. And this is, I think, really one of the main problems with the video game industry today. If you look at a lot of the woes and the sort of, I don't think it's really any secret that AAA games aren't what they used to be. A lot of people have been complaining, like, for every really good, solid AAA game, like say Tears of the Kingdom, You have something like, Starfield, which, I think, some Bethesda fans really liked. I think for a lot of people it was a disappointment. I mean, look at the Steam reviews. It's doing pretty poorly. A lot of mixed reviews. Look at Diablo 4 came out to, did really well at the beginning. And then people quickly realized that, hey, the end game kind of sucks. There's a lot of issues. Then, of course, it came out with a disastrous first patch, which lost a lot of the player base. They're like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you nerfing stuff that's already, when the game is already kind of like bland as it is? And they've slowly had to like work hard to improve it. And obviously their first event was kind of weak, not what people expected. So there's been a lot of course, constant delays as well, which further increases costs. A lot of AAA games. So there's been a lot of flaws. And of course, you also have I don't even play the sort of yearly editions of Modern Warfare that decide to come out. But you also see in the monetization of these games and how it hurts the sort of gameplay in it, because you have to constantly have skins. You constantly have to have loot boxes. There's a constant need to recoup your money. Maybe it's increased costs, going from $60 to $70, raising, the price of admission on these games. There's a lot of things in it that are really contributing to the loss in quality of video games, like, say, the length of games, where you have to pad out how long it takes. That way, as we've talked about before on the podcast, this sort of a dollar to cost ratio, where it's like, all right, I need a game that is, that's like $100 per hour. Like if it's a $60 game or $70 game, am I going to get $70 worth, or 70 hours of playtime out of it? But it seems to be like we got to pad this up now that we've got the game. We got to make it open world. We got to make it live service. That way we can sort of have people log in, like we talked about earlier with the login rewards. We keep them playing, put in habit forming sort of mechanics into the game so we can continually monetize them, with skins or some other mechanics, a boost. You can get your little like daily boost, your seasonal passes, all these things that kind of come from, not just, increasing profits, but breaking even at this point. This is, there's definitely some trouble in the gaming industry, especially during this this era. And of course, moving forward, you can't double like 200 million. That's insane. But you see it in a lot of places right now. And then a lot of people like me and others have just kind of turned to looking at sort of like these indie games like Blue Revolver here, which are just cheap. You can play $10-15 for a game. I play this for like 16 hours and really enjoy it. It's made with love. It's it doesn't have gigantic graphics, but the gameplay is solid. It's fun, and it has like character to it. It's unique. It's really nice. This is a problem going forward for video games. What are they going to do about this cost? And hopefully, I'm hoping to see more small time, or at least these sort of major developers investing in smaller studios, having people that go in and what's the word I'm looking for? Have these small studios making sort of unique games, taking risks. That's the other thing that really is bad about the cost, the ballooning cost of these games. You don't see any risks. People aren't making new IP. That's, everything's going to be a remake. It's a Resident 4 remake. It's, Last of Us remake. It's Metroid remake. They need these sort of built-in audiences so they can guarantee they'll at least get some of this money back from the game. Like, oh, we need X remake, new version of Luigi's Mansion is coming out. It's, it's insane. Like I'm glad, I guess, some of the new generation gets to play some of these old games I loved, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, Could you come out with something new, please? But that's here nor there. It's definitely something that's got to change, and hopefully it does. Hopefully we have some, like I said, some of these major companies like letting smaller studios, smaller teams come out with, some really unique and crazy stuff. That would be my hope. The good ending for this scenario. Bad ending is, I guess, just more monetization in games, higher cost of games. And who knows what, the future will bring here.